All right, I'm here with Luai Kurdi, originally on the Automate Construction podcast as I believe the third guest. You were working for a different 3D printed construction company. Since then, you left them, founded your own 3D printed construction company. It's so great to see you here again. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thanks for the opportunity, and it's nice to talk to you again. I think last time we talked was 2 years ago.
Yeah, wow. And you have two printers now in the facility.
Yes, exactly. I have two printers. Actually, one is our own printer, but the second one is a printer that we're currently assembling for a client.
Wow, cool. And so you assemble the printer in-house. What about the behind you? You got a silo mixer pump system?
Yep. Let me let me switch the camera. That's the best way. Let's see. Okay.
Very cool studio. Looks very
Oh, thanks a lot.
modern.
Thanks a lot. I just don't know how to switch the camera though. Let me check. That's the chat. Nope.
Maybe not an option with Riverside.
It's not an option to switch the camera.
I don't know.
Okay. Then I guess I can turn it around or just show you like that. Yeah. So basically, this is our printer, our own printer.
Nice. So you got it on the track.
Yeah, it's on a 6 meter long track. So we have a much bigger print volume. We can print up to 2.2 meters high with this robot. And then if I go to the other side of the facility, we have the silo and the mixing pumping system. So here we can.
Standard, or have you developed some customizations?
It is kind of standard. It is standard, but of course, every material has its own customization for some of the equipment or the hardware inside, like the mixing shafts. The type of blades that you're using to mix the material, to agitate the material, and things like that. So those are the customizations that we work with for every different material. And we have the jumbo bags over here, which are 1 ton each, and we basically this silo can take around 2 tons. So these two bags, and basically
Nice.
we print right off the silo, like fully automated, I would say, because we don't have any people unloading the material into the printer. Yeah.
Unless you have some kind of rebar going in or some kind of what kind of objects have you been printing mostly?
Oh, well, it's interesting because we really wanted to start printing some of our own products. Soon we'll be launching our first tiny house that we will be printing in the next few weeks.
Nice.
But the thing is, when I started the company, actually, Print4D has been around for just over a year now. And during that past year, we've been working on the development of the facility, the technology, and where we saw the demand was the clients wanted to get their hands on some printers as opposed to printing projects. So we had to switch our strategy, say, okay, we really wanted to start printing projects in Europe and even in the Middle East, but then the demand was, okay, we want printers, so we had to adapt to that. And that's why we focused on assembling printers and selling them.
Nice. So what's the lead time like for the assembly?
Yeah, so we have two kind of product ranges. So and the reason why we have the two, I will explain to you. So for a brand new robotic arm, so maybe I will switch to the other side. So this is the second hall that we have. This is where we do the assembly, integration, the testing, and have all of the printers ready to ship to our clients. So, for example, if you see here in the back, well, maybe I can show you. We have one robot over there. That's the mixing pump. We have the steel pedestal where we install our clients' robots to do the testing. And then this robot, for example, is brand new. It comes, it's manufactured in Germany. And this robotic arm is the largest robotic arm in the market. It has the 3.9-meter reach. And to produce it, it takes 6 months minimum. So for a brand new robotic arm, we have around 6 to 8 months lead time. So on the other hand, on the other side, some of our clients want to have the printers earlier. So for example, this robot over here, it's a refurbished one. And this one, we can get it within 2 to 3 months. And then the lead time is around 4 to 6 months for the refurbished robotic arm unit. So when I say refurbished, it's only the robotic arm that is refurbished, but all of the other hardware are brand new.
Yeah, and those last a very long time. They're super reliable, so it's not such a terrible idea.
Exactly, definitely. So these can last more than 10 years easily, these type of robotic arms.
What's the price difference?
We have I mean, if you go for a refurbished unit, you're saving around 30 to 35,000 euros, which is quite a chunk, you know.
So you mentioned the tiny house you'll be building. Is that going to be constructed in your facility? Is it monolithic? Is it printed in elements?
Yeah, that's going to be printed here, and we're going to assemble it outside. I can show you where in a bit. So we're going to have it assembled in segments. I think around 8 segments, and then we can build it outside, install the windows and the doors, and then it's going to be ready. This type of units, I think it's around 25 meters square from the exterior dimensions, and it can be printed within 2 or 3 days. But of course, you know.
8 units.
Sorry?
8 units. That's a very small number. So
yeah.
Does that mean you're printing full height?
We're printing half height. So we have 4 pieces on the first layer, and then the second 4 pieces. And the reason we can minimize the amount of pieces because we can print, you know, large scale here. So we don't really need to print like small segments.
And are the pieces cornered?
Sorry?
The pieces, are they just straight walls, or is there some kind of geometry to help them stand?
They have straight walls and corners. So with the corners, it's easier to have the stability of those pieces. Yeah.
The last building you printed, the halfway house in Dubai, that was about 18 months ago.
Yeah.
You made a lot of changes, it sounds like, to the design process compared to a lot of tiny units that are maybe 1 meter by 1 meter, all of them, and now moving to just a couple much bigger units. Why did you make that choice?
Well, I mean, if you want to print a tiny unit, it needs to be worth it in terms of size and area. You don't want to really print like let's say a bathroom stall or a tiny space that you can't really utilize for multiple activities. So 25 meters square is quite big enough. It can also almost be considered as a studio apartment. And with these tiny houses, we don't really need to abide by a lot of building codes and regulations because it's considered small, tiny house unit. So you can skip some of the tight regulations that we have here in Europe. Like we are located in Czech Republic, and these technologies, they're still haven't penetrated the market, and there's a lot of work to be done if you want to go large scale and prove, you know, the technology in the building construction side. So having it small is much easier to roll out.
But I actually was talking about not the square feet of the building, but the size of the elements itself.
Okay.
So you went bigger with the elements this time.
Yes, exactly. So when we were able to print larger pieces, we get rid of the connections that we need to create between the walls, and also it's more thermally efficient because you don't have the cold bridges. So if you put 2 blocks of wall, the wall will touch from one side to the other, and then you have kind of a cold bridge. So what we try to do with our design is to completely eliminate the joinery between the walls, and to have the insulation continuous, And then also that, of course, affects the structural integrity of the building. It's more rigid and more stable.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially if your goal is automation. Every single joint is human effort, so the less joints is less human effort. Is that something you would have integrated into the B6 project now if you were to do it over again?
100%. 100%. One of the my background is in architecture, and I've worked in construction in my whole career. And one of the things that, as an architect, you really want to avoid is that cold bridge segmentation, especially in cold environments here in Europe. You want to have the insulation as efficient as possible to lower the cost of the heating, make sure that the cold stays outside in winter and the heat stays outside in the summer. But that's not a big worry in countries like the UAE. If you've visited and you've seen, the skyscrapers are all made out of glass facades. So the heating is not an issue. You have air conditioning inside the buildings, but if you really want to do it the right way, you want to insulate the building envelope properly so that you can reduce your energy when it comes to cooling and heating.
Certainly.
And of course, having the bigger segments, it's less work in terms of joinery, putting the mortar between the pieces. If you need to join the roof with the last segment, for example, or the first piece with the ground foundation, when you have less segments, it's just easier. It's less repetitive work.
So being under 250 or 25 square meters, does that allow you to avoid pouring reinforced columns?
Yeah, exactly. So for this tiny house, all of our walls are self-standing and load-bearing.
Wow, load-bearing for the roof.
Yes, exactly. Well, we're kind of looking at two options for the roof, whether we do it a lightweight structure or we do it as a concrete roof. And if we go for the concrete roof option, our load-bearing walls are strong enough to hold the roof, which was the same case for the Abu Dhabi project.
The Abu Dhabi project has no reinforced columns?
No reinforced columns.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's substantial. And it's still standing, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm happy about that.
Yeah, do you know George Stikos?
No.
He's working on a unreinforced columns project as well. That's some of the most interesting printing to me because the reinforcement is a human effort, not automated.
Yep.
And if you can have the printer do the entire building envelope without worrying about those reinforced columns, that's extremely powerful. So will this tiny home be the first of its kind in Europe?
Yes, I believe so. As far as my knowledge goes, there is no tiny houses that are properly used for living conditions. So it's going to be the first, definitely in Czech Republic, and I'm pretty sure in Europe.
There's definitely other printed tiny houses, but I don't think any of them don't have reinforced columns. I think they all have reinforced columns.
Yeah, I agree, exactly. So what we're trying to do is exactly reach the minimal amount of human intervention as possible, expedite the whole process, have the printing done very fast, the assembly done very fast and easy and simple. And I think that's the essence of this technology. You want to do things efficiently, fast, and to reduce the amount of time and amount of human activities that goes into the building process.
Yeah, very cool. And so you're building in the Czech Republic and the municipality has already permitted the project, or which stage are you in?
So that's the interesting part. For tiny houses, 25 meters squared and below, you don't really need a building permit.
Wow.
And that's why we're going down that route, because we want to introduce the technology in an easy way, let's say, without having a lot of resistance. And then once we introduce that product into the market, you can say, hey, look at this, we're going to go large scale. So,
have you had any interest from the municipality in looking at the tiny home and then saying maybe we can do this for bigger homes or more homes?
Not really, because I haven't reached out.
Yeah, hopefully they see this.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, living here in Czech Republic, it's a little bit difficult with the language barrier because I don't speak Czech. I'm learning, I'm taking classes, but I don't speak Czech. And in some government offices, you need to be speaking Czech. So, you know,
You're
can be a bit
learning
challenging.
Czech?
Yeah, I'm learning Czech.
Wow. Well, how many, you speak already like 3 or 4 languages, right?
Yeah, I speak my native language is Arabic. I speak English. I speak German quite well. I speak a little bit of Spanish. I speak a little bit of Slovak because my wife is from Slovakia,
Hmm.
and now I'm learning a little bit of Czech. So
Are Slovak and Czech similar languages a little bit, like French and Spanish?
yeah, yeah, Slovak and Czech languages are very similar because if you remember, it was Czechoslovakia in the past, and then after they got separated, and then Slovakia and Czech Republic. So they speak very close languages, but it's not like this. I would compare it as dialects, two different dialects.
So, how many employees do you have on your team now?
Here in our facility, it's just me.
Wow.
But we have, well, I hire three part-time employees. So we have a material scientist, Sayed Ghaffar, who's also a teacher, PhD holder and assistant professor in Brunel University. He helps us with our research when it comes to material development. Because we have applied for some grants in the European Union to develop different materials and so on. So he's part of that research and team. Then we have one of the guys that helps me here, comes every now and then, whenever we're printing, whenever we're assembling something. And the third part-time employee is helping us install and test or run the printers when we install them in our client's facility.
Yeah,
So
nice.
in the next 2 months, we'll be traveling to Bucharest, Romania, to install that printer that you saw. And then after 2 or 3 weeks, we'll be traveling to Amman, Jordan, which is my home country, to install the second printer. And we're expecting to have 2 more printer orders within the next few weeks. So
Very nice. That's incredible that you're still the only person in that facility getting the printers assembled, shipping them out, doing prints
yeah,
as a one-man show.
yeah,
I guess that forces you to increase the level of automation so that there's less human interactions. Uh,
100%.
are you currently hiring?
Not at the moment. It's a bit. It's kind of a decision made on purpose,
Hmm.
and the reasoning behind it is, all of the profit that we get from selling our printers, we reinvest it into the company and growing it and developing the technology. So I had to kind of make a decision whether I hire someone to help me with what's going on, or we kind of take that money into developing the technology, our facility, and so on. So for now, we're still focusing on that part of developing the technology, making the process more automated, maybe printing that tiny house as I mentioned, and then hopefully when we have things set up at a certain level, then we start hiring them.
Yeah, I think that tiny house will be really substantial because if you prove it can be done, I think what a lot of customers are missing when they look to buy a printer right now, they want more prints completed, so they just have more data to look at of completed projects and have a better understanding of. I mean, if you buy an excavator, they have extremely specific data on how many cubic yards or meters it can move in whatever period of time.
Yep.
Uh, it's very hard to get that kind of numbers from an industry in such an early stage. But even just having one project completed like that where they can say, okay, this has been done before, as opposed to some of the companies that leave it all on their customers to explore what the printers can do.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
it's a good
But
move.
I totally agree with you, and that's the reason why we want to print this tiny house. Like from a personal experience and know-how, I've done it in Abu Dhabi. I designed that building, and I kind of was project managing. And I also kind of printed it. So I did all of the things. So from a know-how point of view, I've done all of that. I don't really need to, for my personal growth and experience, I don't really need to do that again. But for my customers, as you said, I need to do it again here to show them. So of course, when they see the process, they're more at ease with this technology. They can clearly see how things work step by step, and they can make a more educated decision.
Another thing I thought was really cool at the Besix facility was how their silo was outside, pumping inside, so
Yeah.
that they kept the dust and everything outdoors. I noticed in your facility you have it inside, so was it not useful enough to put it outside?
Yeah, I mean, actually having it outside was one of the biggest, the worst decision
Wow.
that they made. So imagine we dry powder material here, and when it reaches 45 degrees Celsius in Dubai, you have the material basically baking inside, um, and it really affects the quality of the print and the different print parameters. So during the day, the temperatures are decreasing, and then the powder temperature is decreasing, and then the water ratio, you need to change that as well. So there's a lot of challenges with having it outside. And actually, one time, that one day it rained in Dubai, the water penetrated from the top,
Oh no.
and we had chunks of dry material inside. So we had to empty the whole silo. So having it inside is much more productive and efficient because you don't have to worry about the temperature changing that much. It's protected. The humidity is also controlled. Everything is quite easier.
Nice. And what's your like dust management system like?
Yeah, so we don't really have much dust here. If I take you closer, there's a filter system attached
Oh wow.
to the mixer, so all of the powder gets filtered, and we don't really have much going out into the facility. So on that point, I actually would like to show you something else. So not all of our clients opt for the silo connection system. So for example, our client in Romania still he wants to run it self-standing. So one person will be unloading the bags inside here, and now it's so we have an attachment to this mixer, to the self-standing one. This attachment basically goes on top, and what we can do is we connect from here a vacuum system, and basically all of the dust that would naturally escape upwards, it would be sucked through the vacuum system into the vacuum machine. So this is how it looks like. This is all of the vacuum ducts. And they basically... Are you there, Jared? Are you there, Jared? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. And the software, even if it cuts out in our conversation, the call will be preserved.
Okay, great. So I don't know where it stopped, but basically this is the connection where you can hook up this vacuum machine, which is
Yeah.
this one. Yeah. It has the self-filtration system, and basically it sucks all of the dust into the vacuum, so you don't really have any dust escaping. And that's very important if you want to keep a healthy environment for printing.
Yeah, certainly. And these days, are you making your own material in-house, or are you using some off-the-shelf material?
Yeah, we're still using the Sika material.
Nice.
I've been working with them more than 4 years, ever since I started in Dubai, and they've been great partners. And personally, it's the best looking material with quality that I've ever worked with. So I'm sticking with that for now.
So you say partner, are they more than a customer? Is it different than that?
I mean, it's not really. I mean, for example, for my clients that I sell printers to, I recommend them to use the Sika material. So we ship the Sika material to them in different parts of the world. So it's kind of a partnership.
Very nice. And I've seen the Sika material printed a couple times. Is it the same material where you can print it and then throw it back in the mixer?
No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, once it hardens, you can't really throw it back into the mixer
Before it hardens.
Before it hardens, yeah, you can, yeah, because it will get mixed with more wet material, and it will kind of decrease in hardness, I would say. So But we never really had that case where we had to throw wet material back into the mixer. It's not the advised way to do it.
Yeah, I saw somebody, 3D potter in Florida, did a print in front of me. Nothing important. It was just a knee-high wall for the video. Maybe that's why he was willing to just toss it back in the mixer pump. I thought that was a cool
Okay.
feature of the material.
Yeah,
Kind of unique.
yeah, it's definitely helpful, but if you look at the mixer, it's really difficult to put in the material. We have some kind of a view on the vibrator, the hopper, where you have the vibrator and the pumping, but it's really difficult to throw in material here. It just gets very messy. So
Yeah. So when you are preparing the printer, about to run the material through, do you prepare some kind of lubrication layer, or you just allow the material to form its own lubrication layer?
yeah, we in Dubai I was using like a special lubricant for the interior side of the hose, but here I just run water actually. So I can just run water and then I can run the material through it immediately. That also works.
Do you know if you get a plug flow zone or not at the extruder tip?
Sorry, what's that again?
Do you know if you get a plug flow zone? Plug flow?
A, a plug in the hose.
Sometimes they can result in a clog. But never mind. Let's go to something else. Let's talk about the.
Sorry, I'm moving around. Is that okay, or it's better to keep
Yeah,
it
that's fine.
still?
Move around. It's actually even better, I think. It keeps
Okay.
people's attention more when there's a little more action.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so when you're printing, do you control the temperature of your water?
Yes. So we have like a source of water that is stable. But of course, from summer to winter, the temperature of the water naturally, because it's coming from a natural source, meaning natural storage source, the temperature can vary, but that variation doesn't really affect. Like we have a kind of a table of the parameters where we definitely measure the water temperature before we print. So we say, okay, the water today is X amount, 15 or 16 degrees Celsius, so we need to use this water ratio with the powder, and so on.
Very nice. And the material is a 1K material, so you're not using accelerants or retarders.
Exactly, it's a 1K material. We are working with a partner who's also producing the mixing pump systems. It's a company called Mai in Austria, and they have developed their own 2K system. So we are working with them to provide it to our customers as well. So that's something that we provide as an additional add-on. So the thing is, with this 2K system, it's an additional cost on the printer, on the standard printer system. So we always keep it as an additional kind of add-on. If the clients really want to use the 2K system, specifically, we can provide it to them through our partner. But some customers who are printing standard stuff, the 1K system is usually more than enough.
You're standing a little too close. The top of your head's cut off the screen. There you go.
Okay, yeah, better.
Or maybe you angle something. I don't know. But the building really looks great. Did you paint the blue yourself, and the white, or was that there?
That was the owner. We did it before I moved in. So I'll take you for a.
Tour.
It's a pity that I can't really turn the camera, but I'll do my best. So this is our facility.
Very cool. So what's the future plans? You get the tiny home printed. What goes next?
Well, ideally for us is we can generate demand on the tiny house And from that, we have a stable production of that product. Then we would like to go into other types of products that we design and print ourselves. At the beginning of this technology, we were talking a lot about customization and printing per on demand, per client, and things like that. But it's a bit difficult today, I found out, because a lot of designers and architects, they're not really familiar with the technology. So what ends up happening usually is that they design something that a lot of modifications and adjustments need to take place. So you spend a lot of time and money and energy into fixing the design to be printable, and then it's not really economic anymore. The whole process, and doing it one time is fine, doing it twice is fine, but doing it like 4 or 5 times a year, it's just a waste of time for me personally. So what we decided to do is that we will launch our own designs and our own products, and then we will look into customization again later at a later stage.
Yeah, I've even seen some that have like preset objects with limited amounts of customization,
Yeah,
so that they can preserve that factor of having a unique item, but not have that concern that you need to make insane adjustments to the G code of every file.
yeah, exactly. That could be a possibility, definitely. But to have like the whole design customizable, like the whole, especially the architectural look of the building, it's time consuming.
Yeah, it's with like the AI solutions and everything coming out, it's hard for me to imagine we won't be able to say design a printed house
Yeah,
in a chat GPT prompt and get the whole thing. It just
yeah,
needs enough data to understand what's appropriate and what's not.
exactly. But like also in reality, there's not much data. If you
There's
look at
no
all of,
data.
I mean, I think you had a YouTube video where you said there's like around 50 or 100 printed buildings so far.
More, yeah, there's by the end of 2023 there'll be over 200.
Wow, that's amazing. But if you look at most of the buildings, especially the ones that have been printed with a gantry, they all have vertical walls. Yes, they have the curves and things like that, but that's not really, that's only one parameter. You don't have, for me, it's the double curvature in the facade and the inclination and so on that can generate more design freedom and design options. But most of the projects, they all have vertical walls, just like curves here and there. And that's not enough, I think, to lead the AI to know exactly what is feasible and what is not.
Yeah, and on top of that, it's not enough to justify the added expense of all the working with new technologies is expensive and the materials expensive, and so you need
Yeah,
to find other reasons that it's beneficial,
definitely.
as opposed to just the box houses, 4 simple walls. That's like a team's bare minimum effort to get something printed so that they could say they printed a house.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're kind of doing the same with the tiny house.
It's an important
Just
step for permitting, and it's
definitely, definitely.
but you're an architect.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, when you introduce such new technology, like you want to do it in a subtle way to get past the first barrier, and then you can go crazy with your designs. And that's what we're trying to do here. I mean, so it will take some time, but we're quite positive about it.
Yeah, that's wise, and I see the value in at least attempting to emulate a house that looks like it was designed by humans or built by humans.
Yeah,
Uh, a lot of people aren't looking to have something that's totally outlandish and brand new. They want something that their family grew up in or they've been used to forever. All their neighbors have.
yeah.
That's probably a big portion of the market anyway.
Exactly. That's exactly the philosophy behind that. But after the tiny house, we're hoping to start looking into more products, whether it's outdoor furniture, whether it's like infrastructure elements. Uh, but those all require more resources and more investment in time and so on. So we're starting with the most basic thing, and then we're growing slowly.
That's a pretty cool gantry you have behind you. You got the overhead
Oh
system to
yeah,
help you with moving stuff.
yeah. It's really useful for the cable management. So the hose, when we're printing, especially like on this side, when the track is moving, the hose cannot really be on the ground. So when we elevate it on this hook, then it's the print bed is free and the cable is taken care of. So it's can come in handy.
Are you starting to feel like a real world mad scientist?
A little bit, a little bit, yeah. But I would feel even more madder or crazier once I start to roll out like really crazy design. Um,
Yeah, definitely. It's already pretty incredible. And you have all this massive equipment behind you. You have the facilities to be able to adjust it and move it by yourself. Tons of weight,
yep,
and the gantry is going to be instrumental in allowing you to move those bigger elements rather than having to lift them by hand, probably.
exactly,
Uh,
exactly. Like we'll be using it to carry our printed wall segments and have the print ready to print the next pieces. And also having this forklift is really instrumental. Without it, like you can't really carry the heavy equipment or the heavy printed wall modules.
and so, in your opinion, printing offsite is the way to go for the future?
Definitely, definitely. I mean, if you look at most of the countries, like, you don't really have a stable climate throughout the year. And if you want to print on site, you have to be ready to challenge all of those elements: rain, sun, humidity, wind, etc. And like I'm pretty convinced that you would spend way more time and energy on fine-tuning your prints than actually producing projects. And so having the printing indoors, we don't really need to think about that. We just run the printer, print, take the modules out, assemble them, and there you go. And plus, if you think about it, like the gantry itself, yes, you are printing on site, but you have all of the hardware of the gantry that you need to bring on site, like the foundations for the columns and the beams, all of the columns and the beams, the mixing system, the nozzle, the hose, like it's a process by itself. So
Yeah, it's a big process. The setup and takedown sometimes can take a week
yeah,
just for the
exactly,
printer.
exactly.
So, do you have any ideas to improve the transportation methods or designing objects for easier transport?
Yeah. So I mean, we have our facility. Like we can open. Actually, I'll open the door.
Hmm.
So we have this gate or door that opens all the way up. And what we can do is when we want to print products for our clients, that we can bring in the truck, the low bed truck, directly here in front of the truck, and then we can print directly on the bed truck, the truck bed,
Wow,
and
that's
then
so
the
cool.
truck just leaves after it's full. So
And then it can cure while it's in transport.
yeah, exactly, exactly. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is like we can print and like we have quite some space in front of our facility. Um, so we can have some space to store some of the printed pieces there. That's one option. And we have way in the back over there, we have like a huge empty land. So it can like we can store the printed modules um, while we ship them. So that's another solution. And here we have some of the pieces that we printed in the past. Um, this was actually printed in a city called Brno. We participated in an exhibition there a few weeks ago. We printed this column live, and we printed also that small wall. And those other pieces, they were printed like um, more than 6 months ago, I would say.
And those were transported already a pretty far distance.
Yeah, this column was transported 1 hour and a half away from here. So
I know the Besix pieces, there were so many of them.
yeah,
Maybe they were thinner, but there were a couple cracks. not in the building, but in transport. Uh,
Yeah, that's true. So we had 78 modules transported in total. I think during transport, we got 3 or 4 pieces damaged, like heavily
not that
damaged.
bad.
And we had to reprint them. So we reprinted it. I mean, mainly that damage is due to lack of attention to the handling process.
Okay.
So, there in Dubai, you have a lot of how to say,
Unskilled
let's say,
labor.
yeah, unskilled labor. And then they don't really care about, you know, putting the things the right way, the cushioning between the elements. So you would expect that. But 4 pieces wasn't that big of a deal, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's not. I wonder if bigger pieces would be stronger or they're still brittle.
Um, what happens is, like, if you have longer pieces, you have more contact with the floor. So you have the piece itself has more contact, so it can distribute the weight more evenly throughout the transportation process. So it might be stable. It might be more stable.
And I forget, is the Czech Republic in an earthquake zone?
I think so. I think most of Europe is.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so now that you've been on the entrepreneurial path for about 2 years,
Yep.
what's changed? You used to be a corporate man working at a big
Yeah.
international construction company, and now you're your own boss, master of your own destiny.
Yep. Exactly. A lot of things. I mean, back when I was working in Dubai, I had a lot of, I had a vision for this technology and it's going. I had to do things in my own way. Sorry, I'm just doing the song. Yeah, I wanted to do things in a certain way, and really, since I really have to um, kind of
It's okay,
work with
getting
that.
adjusted. Take your time.
Sorry.
No worries.
Yeah. So yeah, I had a lot of things that I wanted to do in a certain way, and I saw a certain path to it, but I couldn't really do it myself in that way because you have to report to your boss and so on, and also I didn't have a lot of support to help me grow that part. I mean, still I'm doing most of the things myself here, but at least I can get the support that I need when I need it. So, for example, the 3 part-time employees that I have, I can, get them to do the things that I want whenever I need. I don't need to, go through a process to ask for assistance and stuff. Um, and it's really different. I mean, I have the freedom of my own time, which is great. I can focus a little bit on this part of the business, that part of the business, see whatever really needs a bit more attention, and focus on that. But sometimes you don't have that choice in the corporate world. You just have to do what's right in front of you, like check that to-do list, and yeah. But the freedom here is great. And I'm just happy with how things are going. And I definitely see the future for the 3D printing technology, and I can actually see the demand growing and more people getting into it, which is really amazing for the technology.
For sure. Yeah, and do you think that now, where are you getting your support from? Like, do you have investors and outside partners, or?
No,
Wow.
it's all by myself. I've managed to use some of my own savings, put it into the business, work with a few clients here and there on a consulting basis before I hire. I mean, this facility I've had, like I told you, more than a year. So the company is officially 1 year, 1 year, 1 month, or 1 year, 2 months. And this was all empty. And within 1 year, I managed to get all of this equipment here, set up the printers, work on the different client projects and so on. But yeah, I was taking things one step at a time, saving some money here, there, putting it, investing it back into the company, growing it slowly. Now, if you remember, I had the robot on a fixed foundation in the middle. And that's the foundation I built myself.
Wow.
Because, you want to reduce the cost, you want to have things done as cheap as possible. So, and then today I have it installed on the track. So this is how I'm trying to work things out, is like slowly reinvesting into the company, growing into the technology, and it's working out. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, that's really cool. And how has like, for example, when I worked for other companies, I would check in at 9 o'clock, check out at 5 o'clock, and then I don't care about work for the rest of the day. I have all my time off. When I start working for myself, it all bleeds into one.
Yeah,
Has that been your experience?
100%, 100%. There is like at the moment there is no work time. You don't abide by like 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or whatever. It just you get an email at 11 p.m. at night. You just like have it on your phone, like I'll reply quickly to that. But that's the difference, is that when you have it for your own self, you stop feeling that it's invading on your own private life. You feel it's part of your life. It's what you do. So you don't have that separation as much. You just consider it part of your daily thing. So
Yeah, the plus side is you never are looking at the clock wondering what time is this over.
exactly, exactly. I mean, it happened to me that sometimes I stay here until 9 or 10 p.m. Working, like, oh my gosh, I need to get back home. I need to get some sleep. But part of it is the excitement also, that I'm really happy with what I'm doing. I'm excited about what I'm doing, and that time is not really a factor to me. But I think that's when we are most productive, is that when we don't really look at the time and we just enjoy what we're doing, and we try to, achieve some targets and goals.
Yeah, that's very true. And so right now, you're focused on assembling printers, getting more printers sold, locking up contracts. Um, is there are there other kind of R&D efforts that are taking your attention as well right now?
Yeah, yeah. So we actually won a grant from the European Union
Nice,
6 months
congrats.
ago to develop thermal insulation material, 3D printed, 3D printed material with thermal insulation properties.
Very
Uh,
cool.
so the project just ended. We did the large scale test around a month ago, I think, and we submitted the final report. So that was a really interesting and exciting project. We applied for two more proposals, like grant proposals, within the Czech Republic. I can't say the projects that we applied, like the title of the project or what we're trying to do, but they're all involving 2D concrete printing. Some with the materials, some with the process, some with the application. So we submitted two proposals in the past 6 months, I think, and we're waiting for some feedback from the committees, and we're hoping if we get any of those projects that we can hire more full-time people that are dedicated to those R&D projects.
Very nice. Yeah, that's a great system to be able to win the grant, be able to invest in the research. The insulation, was that achieved with some kind of air bubbles in the mix, like an aircrete kind of thing, or some kind of other solution?
Um, it was, I can't say much about it until
Sure.
the report is out, but it's not air bubbles. It's more lightweight material, like lightweight ingredients, let's say.
Hmm. Cool.
Yeah, yeah, lightweight ingredients. And the thing is, because
You
I
can
don't
leave it
have,
vague.
yeah, the thing is, because I don't really have a material background, I
Hmm.
don't really focus on the tiny details. I know the overall purpose and the goal, um, but not much the details. So I
It's
forgot even the names
incredible
of the.
how many sciences have to come together to make 3D printed construction work. You have architecture, you have material science, you have softwares, you have mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, of course. You'll have civil engineers. You'll have it makes my
Automation.
job very hard because I can't possibly know all those things.
Yeah, yeah. That's also the beauty about the technology that I really I like about it, is that it brings all of the engineers from different backgrounds,
Yeah,
different specializations all together to work on one thing, and that's been the coolest thing working on this technology.
we're just, I guess, leaving out the energy guys. The energy engineers aren't so involved in this yet. Maybe they'll find some way to off-site power. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Some generators on site, off-site generators. I don't know.
Do you think there's a future for batch plant mixers?
Definitely, definitely. The real question is, so I've kind of thought about it, about sourcing the material, right? Because it's a big question always from our clients. How do we source the material? Blah, blah, blah. Can we produce it locally? So on. The problem is that when you source the material locally, there's, I mean, obviously there's an advantage. If you are able to secure all of the ingredients of the recipe locally, there's an advantage that you can reduce the logistics aspect of it. And then there's the question of, printing on-site or printing off-site. It's also involved in the material and the batching plant idea, is that if you want to print on-site, yes, you are printing on-site, but you have to transport the material to be mixed on-site. If you're doing it off-site, the same thing. You're transporting the material to that facility where it's being produced, and then you're shipping those pieces. So shipping, it's really about having three kind of endpoint destinations, so A, B, and C. So if your job site is at the end of the chain, and the material is produced at point A, for example, your printing facility is point B, and it's all like in one line, then you're kind of still doing it the right way. But if you have to cross your production, like the on-site printing site, and go further to the production site and then bring the material back, so you're doing a lot of extra logistics, then it becomes a bit messy and not really sustainable. But it's, yeah.
Logistics is almost its own engineering.
Yeah, exactly. But definitely, if we're able to kind of have our batch plant incorporated in the technology, it would make the process cheaper. It would make people less reliant on a single source of the material. But it's all extra costs. Like batching plants is not an easy job. You need a whole team for it. You need a whole setup, a space. So, yeah, it's a difficult topic.
And the My Mixer you have now, has that been the same for the 4 years you've been working with, or have you not been working with My Mixers for that long?
So actually, the first 2 years with Besix back in Dubai, I worked
MTech.
with this MTech that I've used here in the beginning, but for me it's very outdated and not really taking the specifics of 3D printing and incorporating them into the mixing system. So I jumped ship to the My Mixer.
And the cleaning process of the My Mixer is easier, right, with the plastics, or?
Exactly. The individual pieces are lighter weight because they're made from plastic material, and the concrete doesn't really stick to them as much as the other MTech because that's all made of steel.
And it also mixes better.
And it also mixes better, yeah.
Because it has the adjustable geometries.
It has, so it can precisely dose in the water and the powder. So you have really high accuracy on the amounts of powder-water ratio. So you won't get, so for example, with the MTech, what would happen to me is that one layer would be printing nicely, and then the next layer would be a little slightly wet. And then maybe after 2 or 3 layers, it would be slightly dry. And the reason behind it is that it doesn't have a proper or an accurate dosing system for both the powder and the water. So, and also the hopper where the mixing is taking place is virtually non-existent in the MTech. So what happens is you get the dosed powder, you get the dosed water, and it's almost after a few seconds it's pumped through a hose. So you don't really incorporate that mixing and agitation of the material or activation of the material. Whereas in the My Pump, in the My Pump, so you have the initial mixing of the powder in the water here, and then it gets dumped into this hopper, which is quite, it's quite good in volume. And then inside, if you look, you have agitation and more mixing before the pumping takes place. And also we have one vibrator on each side of the hopper, so that will ensure that the material doesn't harden while it's waiting to be pumped.
And the MTech mixer has no vibration.
No, it does not have any vibrators.
Yeah, it's an interesting feature. That added motion really goes a long way in the malleability.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, mine have really put in a lot of time and effort into developing their mixing pumping system. And I visited them a few months ago in Austria, where they showed me the production, the R&D that they're working on developing the mixer, and it's just fascinating. Like
That's
you
what I
can,
love to hear.
yeah, it's really fascinating for me because it shows you that when a company is focused on developing a product, it shows you that the technology is going somewhere, and it's constantly being developed. What I was missing with the MTech is that I for the 2 years that I've used the machine, I haven't really seen much difference in the equipment and the development, and yeah.
That's what was reported to me over the past couple of years. Companies were saying that the big mixer pump companies weren't dedicating the required resources to the R&D, but it's good. I think now that the industry is maturing and there's many more printers out there, they're
Yep.
selling more units, they're starting to reinvest into realizing it's going to be a big industry.
Exactly. I mean, that's true actually. Like the percentage of sales for 3D printing mixers and pumps, they're very low compared to the other applications, but it's definitely growing, and that's why we see more focus being paid to the developing the equipment.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. The You guys should be posting on social media more. I wish I saw more videos of all the cool stuff you guys are doing.
Yeah, I try. I try
I know you got
to.
so much stuff you're working on.
Yeah, yeah. But I also try to, post new interesting stuff and try not to post like repetitive things or things that like we already talked about, or wait for some exciting things to talk about or to share. But one thing that actually I shared yesterday that that's also something funny. When I started with the 3D printing in general, I started doing it 6 or 7 years ago. And basically, I had also, maybe I told you, I had a YouTube channel, like just like you, and I was putting videos on how to assemble desktop printers, plastic printers. So that's where it kind of all started. But I've noticed from customers and clients, there is also an interest in plastic printing, not concrete, but plastic. And that's why we started looking more into that, and now we're offering plastic printers as a product. So we have 2 clients that we're working with that hopefully we can install a plastic printing system for them. Personally, I don't have much experience with the large scale plastic printing, but I have the right partners and I have the right contacts that gives me the confidence to operate for our clients.
Yeah, cool. And I also noticed the tip of the printer, you have it going out straight and then there's a pipe going down. That
Yeah,
seems a little different than the B6 setup.
yeah, exactly. So with the Besix setup, you would have the sixth axis exactly pointing down. But if you think about it like that, we win more reads with the printer. And so that's something that I made as a development for myself. I thought, okay, I want more reads, then why not utilize the extension? And then we added also 0.5 meter extension to our nozzle. So this is the robot with 3.1 meter reads. Then you add 0.5 meter extension of our print head. So at the end you get 3.6 meters. Sorry.
That's great.
Yeah.
On either side, or no?
Yeah, exactly. So on the front side of the crack and also on the back side. Yeah.
Very cool. And you got your operator booth. Did you have to assemble that yourself?
Which one?
The operator booth to your left?
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this comes standard with the robot. But of course, in terms of planning and thinking about the best placement, yeah, we decided to have it here. And also we have a nice cable management system, which is this one. So all of the cables go inside. I haven't actually hooked it up yet, but all the cables go inside, and basically, when the robot moves, show you. This is like manual, but when the robot moves, the whole cable system moves with it, and keeps it all like tangle free and free to move. So,
Nice. Very cool. And so if people want to follow you and check out what you're working on, what are the best places for them to keep up with what you're doing?
I mean, I'm posting regularly on LinkedIn, and Instagram, because we have. I have my personal page and also the Prince 4D page, so you can follow us there and check out our latest development and projects and clients and what we're working
And what's the Instagram address?
on. It's Prince 4D.xyz.
Cool. And is there anything else you guys are working on you can pitch or promote to the audience?
Um,
Why should they go to your website today?
well, I mean, the thing that's a really good question. So the thing is, like, we as Prince 4D, how we work with our clients is we're a one-stop shop for their 3D printing needs. So now we put the plastic printing also as a product. So we provide large-scale robotic concrete printers and plastic printers. And what we do is that we work with the clients from A to B. So we advise them on the layout of their facilities, the space that they should have, where the equipment should be placed, the infrastructure that needs to be prepared prior to installing the printer. And then we provide them with the whole package of the printing system, whether it's concrete or plastic. So our clients really don't need to worry too much about where do I get this equipment, what do I do where, there, is this compatible with this, how do I integrate the system with this system. And on top of the hardware, then we have our own slicer software that is compatible with our equipment. So that's one package. What we do is that after we ship our printers to the clients, we go for 1 week in their facility, install the printers for them, commission it and start running it and do the test printing. And we provide after-sales support. So if the clients have certain questions afterwards, so we give the peace of mind to the clients that, hey, you don't need to know much about robotics or 3D printing. We are here. We provide you the service. We do the training, and we're here to help you afterwards. So I think that's one of the most fascinating things for me is that some of our clients, like actually both of our clients that we're working with now, they have zero background with 3D printing or robotics. And we managed to tell them that, hey, you don't need to have that background. We made our system and technology in a way that you can use it without having that prior experience. I think that's the shift that we really need to focus on today to enable more people to have access to the technology.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think there's three things you're doing really exceptionally well. You're operating the printer by yourself and aiming for full automation.
Yeah.
You're aiming to print on the truck bed, which is like the ultimate just-in-time delivery.
Yeah.
You don't even have to load the stuff. You're not storing it. You're just printing it, shipping it out. No inventory. That's amazing. And the third, the tiny home with no reinforced columns. That's a huge leap forward in terms of costs, automation,
Yeah.
percentage of the job completed by robots. It seems like you're focused on all the right stuff and nobody can stop you.
Yeah, I mean, as I told you before, I enjoy what I'm doing, and I see a future for it. So,
All right, well, let's have the next episode less than 2 years away.
yeah,
After you get that tiny home printed, how about that?
Sure, sure. But this time you'll have to come visit me here.
I will. I plan on coming to Europe. I was going to go this summer, but there's only like half a dozen new printed homes since I was there 2 years ago. There
Okay.
really needs to be at least 10 for me to
Okay.
visit,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
which is, I think, going to happen either by the winter or the summer of this year, or of either 2023 winter or 2024 summer.
Yeah.
Uh, Maybe even this summer. It seems like a lot of projects are scheduled in Europe for this summer. So
Hmm. Hmm.
perhaps I should be there, but we'll see how it plays out. It's very tricky. I promised so many groups I would visit that I can't really go unless I visit all of them now.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have
So
to
I have
have
to do it the right
all
way.
of them like coordinated at the right time.
And it's important to me to visit all of them too.
Sure, 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 sure. Well, keep me updated. We'd love to have you here. And hopefully we have tiny house printed by then so you can actually come and see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for joining me on the call today and sharing your story.
Sure. Pleasure always.